Right.
And do you want to make sure it's showing on the slideshow?
Oh.
Give me the thumbs up if that looks good, and we'll begin. All right. Okay, we're good. All right, thank you so much for your patience, everyone. Sorry about that, technology. Speaking of technology, hey, Scarlett. Yeah, so super excited for this event. My name is Nathan. I am the VP of Events for the CSS. We're one of two clubs that are hosting this. The other one is the Game Development Club. Some of them are over there. Say hi, everyone. I don't know if there's others that sort of interspersed, but there's a lot of you guys, and that's what I'm really excited about. So this is an event we've all been planning for quite a while. We're really excited for how it'll go, and we're super pumped to have our guest speaker, Adrienne Bazir. Adrienne is the game developer, the mastermind perhaps, behind the game In Stars in Time, which I know many of you are fans of, or at least have heard of. It's a great game. I highly recommend playing it. But we're going to be talking a little bit more than just In Stars in Time. We're going to be talking about game development, right? The goal of this event is to see yourselves in game development, potentially whether you're interested in it as a hobby or potentially a career, or just like, I've never really considered this, but it's something cool. Because game development is such a phenomenal thing to do. It's really hard, though. There's a lot that goes into it, and we'll learn about that soon, but it's really fun, it's really cool, and it's got a fantastic gender diverse future, at least in my mind. There's some fantastic creators, Adrienne being one of them, in this space, making it great. So I think that's enough for me. Without further ado, let's give everyone give Adrienne a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nathan. Can you all hear me correctly? Yes, in the back, thank you. Wonderful. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Adrienne. As Nathan said, I am the mastermind behind indie game In Stars in Time. We'll get to that in a second. And welcome to my funny little presentation called Making Indie Viddy Games, because I did that in 1 hour, and I was half asleep, and I was like, this is a funny title. So this is what you get. So there we go. This is me, the little icon here, and also here. So I'm Adrienne. I'm an indie game developer. I made In Stars in Time, which you can see the little Steam page thingy here. In Stars in Time is pretty quickly just a time loop RPG, has a lot of queer characters, has a lot of stuff about diaspora, has a lot of characters of color, and it's also very good and made people cry, and I routinely get emails from people telling me that I made them cry and I changed their lives. And some people are now called Sifrin, the name of the main character. And I'm totally feeling nothing about that. That's totally fine and is not life-changing to hear. Apart from that, it is also an award-nominated game. I have not gotten any awards yet. I've just been nominated, which is the mark of a truly great game, I think. If I get an award, that means I failed. This is what I tell myself at night. And a lot of reviews, overwhelmingly positive, blah, 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 whatever. This is the game everyone knows, but I also made some other games that are less well known. I made this game called Sarah, which is a visual novel about a girl and an alien drinking tea and falling in love. I made this small visual novel called This Game Will End in 205 Clicks. And I also made Start Again, a prologue. I keep switching. I should just watch one thing, whatever. Start Again, a prologue, which is the prototype for In Stars in Time, and we will also get to that in a second. And today, I am here to tell you about my journey as a game developer, how I started with making fan comics, how I went into animation, and now I'm finally a full-time game developer, how I'm thinking about adding some queer content into the game, and what were the sort of pros and cons into doing that, how I use constraints to create my games and to think about all my projects, and also how you, too, can make indie games. So when I was a wee child, I loved video games. I think my first game was Pokemon Red or something, or Pokemon Yellow. And when I started getting into video games, my mom was like, video games are for boys. So I need to nurture that in you because I don't want you to only do hobbies that are for girls. I need to make sure that you are well-rounded. So that was great. I also always said that I wanted to become a game developer when I was growing up, but it was more of an excuse to make my mom buy me games for research. I want to remind you that this is an excuse you can also use for yourself. If you have even the slightest inkling of making video games, buy games. It's research. Here we go. I studied art and design in high school, which was not fun in the slightest. It was kind of hell, but it made me learn about defeat because I went from having a lot of really good grades to having really bad ones, and so that's never good for someone like me to learn about defeat, but I learned about it nonetheless. And then in college, I studied game development for a year. For many reasons, this did not work out because it was also my very first year. I'm originally from France, and it was my very first year being outside of France and speaking English literally all the time, and then also learning codes. So it's just like learning two languages at once, and that was very difficult. The game development courses were also very much focused on code and not on gameplay or story, which was what I was more interested in. And also there were a lot of dudes. I think there was only one other girl in the game design courses, and otherwise there were a couple of girls in the game art classes, but that was pretty much it. So I switched to animation, and then I got the degree in animation, and then I had some full-time jobs working on a bunch of animated shows. A bunch of kids shows, which you don't say, oh my god, did you work on this cool thing that I know? No, I only work on stuff that you would only know if you are literally 4 years old. If you know any of these, congrats, you're 4 years old. Very happy for you. In the meantime, I posted my comics online and my art online. I am pretty big on the Tumblrs, and I made a lot of fan arts about stuff that I like you can see. I made a lot of fan art about Undertale, about the Adventure Zone, about The Legend of Zelda, about Steven Universe, and about The World Ends With You. Just making fan art was pretty much all I did because I really liked it, and also because it's a really easy way to make yourself known online. How dare you? How dare you? This is a theater. This is a movie theater. We forgot to tell you. Turn off your phones. Be nice. So yeah, made lots of fan arts and stuff for many years. And I also often did a challenge that's called 24-Hour Comic Day, where you make a comic from scratch in 24 hours, following a theme and a constraints. And we're going to talk about constraints in a second. It's important, but here, a page from 2 different comics of mine. We'll get to that in a second again. And in 2017, I was playing a bunch of indie games, which I found on this platform called itch.io, in case any of you know about it. itch.io is specifically for indie games. It's like a less mainstream Steam. And it also has a game jam page. And game jams, in case you don't know, they are challenges where you have to finish a game in a certain amount of time and often following a theme. And a certain amount of time can be a week, it can be a month, it can be 24 hours. And while I was kind of looking around and looking at all those themes, I found the Yuri Game Jam. If you don't know what Yuri means, it's when 2 girls love each other very much. And that's the theme. And that's it. So the deadline was about 2 months, so I figured, I've never made a game before. I can make a game in 2 months, come on. Because especially since for those types of game jams, they don't tell you, you have to make a game that is 20 hours long in 2 months. They're like, just make a game. It doesn't really matter. You don't even need to finish it, probably. So I was like, yeah, since I can make a 24-page comic in 24 hours, I can make and finish a game of some kind in 2 months, even though I don't know how to code. But then I did. And so that's Baby's first game, Sarah. Like I said before, this is a visual novel about a human and a bee alien drinking tea and falling in love. Baby's first game. So I think having a big enough deadline was really helpful because 2 months, it gives you enough time to learn anything. And I knew, again, absolutely nothing about coding. So to make this visual novel, I used RedPie, which is a software to specifically make visual novels. And it also has like probably the best documentation I've ever seen ever. Like they explain literally everything to you. If you want to try making a visual novel, just use RedPie. You can make it. I hate math and I hate coding, and I did it. So you can also do it. And also RedPie is really great to make something simple, kind of like I did here, but it's also versatile enough to do some wild stuff if you do actually know how to code. And with that, we can also talk about constraints. Constraints is when you have rules, and that's pretty much it. So I personally swear by this, by using constraints for all of my projects, but we're here to talk about video games, so I'm going to say video games. So this is pretty much how, like, using constraints is how you keep yourself from deciding as an indie developer to make the next Fortnite. This is about telling yourself, how about I don't make the next Fortnite, and I just make a small indie game first. And then the next game can be Fortnite, because at least I know some things. Because an issue I often see with indie developers and just artists and people who want to create things in general is that they want to create the next big thing. They want to create the next Undertale. They want to create the next Fortnite. They want to create the next Skyrim. The next Roblox. I don't know what games you kids are playing. But you want to make, like, obviously you really like a certain thing, like I really want to make something similar, but you've never made a thing before, so you don't know how hard it is to actually make things. You don't realize how, like, often people don't realize the scale of something until they actually start making it. And so that applies also for comics. You would get someone who's like, I've drawn a little bit. What if I made a 100-page comic for my first comic? Don't do that, you'll die. It's very hard. So, constraints. So for example, for 24-hour comic day, for this specific 24-hour comic day that I did, so as constraints, it was 24 hours to do 24 pages. They gave us a theme, which was Dream Team, and you can kind of interpret that how you want. I decided to interpret it as two hitmen who are having a toxic relationship, and it's like, should we kill this guy that I'm in love with, or but we don't, like this whole thing. And then the constraint for this specific one was that the story must use a quote from a movie or a TV show, and I used the Gone Girl quote, which I ended up kind of misremembering, but that's fine. And there's the moment where Amy Dunn just said, you think you can do whatever you want? No way, baby, I'm it. I'm the girl of your dream. And I was like, I remember this. It's gonna be in the comic. And then I watched the movie and I was like, I don't even remember anything, but that works still. As long as you think that you have a constraint, it's all good. But yeah, so giving yourself some constraints, so that kind of, like the metaphor that I would use is that instead of having the whole world to explore, you just have, and to kind of make grow, you just have a little garden that you can make grow. And that's a lot easier to take care of a garden. You can definitely make a garden pretty instead of the whole world first. So for the Eurogame Jam, the jam's constraints were a 2 months deadline. The theme, it's Yuri, it has to be about lesbians, or the queer female experience, they weren't that picky. I decided that it was going to be a visual novel, which is a constraint in itself, like the genre and how, like if you want to do a platformer, a visual novel, or an open world, this is a constraint in itself, because you're like, all right, I know exactly how this genre works. And another constraint that I gave myself is that this would all take place in a single room, which here was the greenhouse where the story is taking place. And so that means that I didn't have to draw that many backgrounds. And there's also only 2 characters, so I didn't have to care or think about other characters. So yeah, all of those constraints. And yeah, it's kind of the having constraints is also the difference between you have to tell me a story right now, or saying, you have to tell me a story about your sister right now, not you, because you were here and you said, I can't look at you. You were here before. But it's that difference, is that if I tell me a story about your sister, a funny story about your sister, it's way easier to think about than tell me any random story. But yeah, if you have trouble finishing things, I highly recommend giving yourself some constraints. And then, continuing my game dev journey, I didn't touch game dev for a while, until the pandemic, so 30 years. And beforehand, I had this series of comics I made for the last 3 years beforehand, like 2017 to 2020, where it's a little guy that's trapped in a RPG-style time loop. And I figured I could make a game out of that since I was so bored working from home, not seeing anyone in the pandemic because there was a plague outside. And then, so yeah, I kind of got this idea, which ended up being in Starting Time. And so I wrote up some stuff about how the story could go, the beginning, the end, blah, blah, blah. And I realized very quickly that this would be kind of a big undertaking, again, for someone who has made one game that was a visual novel, and I wanted to make it an RPG, and that's a lot different than making a visual novel. So yeah, I figured out that the scale was going to be pretty big, so that I needed to maybe first make a prologue or a prototype for the game, which is what Start Again or prologue is pretty much. So decided to do a prologue to kind of figure out, okay, how big is this project going to be? Can I actually make a time loop game in RPG Maker, which is what I ended up using? Does this actually work? And then since I also ended up releasing the prologue and selling it, it allowed me to share the project with them and see if people would be excited about it, which they were. So I was like, okay, that's great. I can actually keep on going with this because people would be interested. So yeah, that's kind of the interest of doing a prototype and kind of releasing it. Is that first helps me figure out that it's doable and helps people know that this is happening and maybe they should look at me and follow me. And so yeah, as for constraints, for this was small. So I used the comics also that I made beforehand as a reference. So kind of going like, okay, so when I made the comics, I drew those kind of NPC characters. Maybe I should make them become actual characters. I had this moment that was happening in the comic. Is there a way I can put it in the game and make it interesting? Another constraint was that this would all happen in a single dungeon. Which means I can reuse assets, which was also very useful because making pixel art is hard, which is one of the things that I learned. Another constraint is that the battle system would be rock, paper, scissors, because for those who have played games, usually you would have like some kind of typing system, like in Pokemon, you have fire, water, and grass, and I was like, this is just rock, paper, scissors. I could maybe figure out all of those characters. Maybe this one's fire type, this one's electricity type, or whatever. Or maybe I could just go with rock, paper, scissors because that would be funny. That was literally the reason that I made it rock, paper, scissors. I was like, this would be so funny. Kind of a harsh look at video games and how it's all rock, paper, scissors deep down. And then it's also in black and white. That was another one of the constraints I gave myself for black and white is that at that point, when I was making art and making comics, all my comics were in black and white because I didn't want to think about color. I hate thinking about color. I hate color so much. And black and white is easier, and then, so that's why I decided that it would be black and white. And also, giving yourself constraints helps you kind of expand the world and give yourself more, like some ideas that you wouldn't have otherwise. So for example, for rock, paper, scissors, so simplifying it, simplifying the typing system, and then how does this inform the game? How does having rock, paper, scissors change the gameplay? Does it make it harder? Does it make it easier? Is there something about rock, paper, scissors, the game, that I can put in the game itself? And then how does it change the world that they live in? Do they know that they're doing rock, paper, scissors as typing? Do they think that's special to them in some way? Or rock, paper, scissors like a way of life? I ended up in the game, it's similar to astrology, where they're like, oh my god, I was born a paper type, which means I'm like really methodical, and like I'm really tidy. And I'm rock type, which means I'm a himbo, and I'm really strong. So yeah, so how to like just that kind of help make the world become more interesting. And then, how dare you? and then for black and white, yeah, I didn't want to think about color. It's a lot of work, and already with comics, color is a lot of work. So with the whole game, I was like, I would rather kill myself right now. And so yeah, you come up with, there were some challenges also to doing black and white. For example, for the UI and for the menus, how do you show that something is selected when everything is in black and white? Because usually it would, maybe something would be lighter or whatever. How do you show that things can be interacted with if you don't have the yellow paint that all games, AAA games really love? How do you show that something is an enemy if they don't have a red outline or whatever? So there were a lot of those challenges that kind of appeared, which was an interesting challenge in general. And then same thing, in the world, do people in this world see color? Is it like see in color, or do they see in black and white? And if you played the game, if you haven't played the game, I'm going to spoil it for you right now. They all see in black and white, and this is like a really important part of the game where they're like, before, there were those shades called blue and red, and I don't know what they were all about, but that was weird. Where did color go? I don't answer that in the game because I'm mean. But yeah, so kind of using constraints to make the world more interesting. And beyond releasing something small, and knowing the scales and knowing if people were interested in the game after releasing the prologue, it got me one more thing. So a few weeks after, like not a few weeks, like 2 weeks after I released the prologue, I got an email from 2 publishers to me, who's then one I was like, I don't really care, you seem kind of spooky. But the other one said that they had followed me on Tumblr for a bit, and then they saw that I released this game, and they're like, so I'm a publisher, and like, since you called it a prologue, is there perhaps an actual story to go with it? And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna answer this email for a month because I'm a little scared. And so she ended up like messaging me again, like, did you see my email? We would really love to publish your game. And I was like, okay, that would be fun, thanks. Thanks for getting back to me even though I didn't. But yeah, so doing the prologue showed one thing in particular, like even though it was small, even though it was a lot of constraints, even though it was like an hour long or whatever, it shows that I could finish things. And because I think that working on your, I'm gonna call out so many of you right now. Working on things is good, but you know what's better? Finishing them. It's so good if you can finish things, because if you never finish anything, how can people know you can finish things? And how can people think you're cool? So please try to finish at least one thing. God damn. I know it's hard, but you have to. But yeah, so I got my publisher and I got to working on this Squeakle. And also one important thing, because I haven't talked, so like finally we're getting into the game development part of this. But until in Stars in Time, well, counting in Stars in Time actually, I did all of my game development and comic work and all of that while working full-time on another job. And so I would never, ever recommend that you start doing indie game as your full gig unless you know for sure that you're gonna get some money out of it. I am so sorry, you cannot live off dreams. Please get a job. Sorry, that one was really mean. Please get a job, please. Oh my God. Get out of school, get a job. But yeah, Sarah got me like $200 or something. The prologue got me some revenue, but it was definitely not enough to make a living off of it full time. So do not, I know you're still in school. I wrote that like you were adults, all adults with all jobs, no school, but do not quit your job. So I guess do not quit school. I guess you can quit school if you want. But yeah, so I work on the Starting Time. It was the prologue at a higher scale when it comes to constraints. They were the same. I didn't do something small too much. I added things when I wanted to add them, but I kind of figured out the scale of what I wanted to do. So if I wanted to add something, it's like, I think this will take me like 3 days. I would never have done something where it's like, I think this will take me 3 months. That gets scrapped. don't spend 3 months on something on a whim. And so, let's talk time management from someone, me, who's really good at working on side stuff and is trying to be better about not getting burnt out and failing. Learn from me. So kind of a tiny thing is how to work on your fame and when, especially if you have a full-time job, if you're going to school, blah, 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 you have no time. And my answer is 10 minutes a day. Just work on your thing for 10 minutes a day. And that's your goal. Not necessarily because I think 10 minutes a day is enough, although it can be, but because the real problem isn't, at least for me, the real problem wasn't a lack of time, it was a lack of motivation. It's like, I don't really want to work on this, I would rather play Fields of Mistria right now. But if you work for 10 minutes is not a big enough problem that you go, okay, oh my god, I have to get up for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is fine, you can work for 10 minutes. And usually you will end up working for more than 10 minutes. And even if it's only 10 minutes a day, that's more than an hour per week. That's more than 52 hours in a year. And you can make a small game in 52 hours. So just work 10 minutes a day. Just start with 10 minutes a day and see what happens. You might see this advice elsewhere where they go, just work 1 hour a day. No one wants to work 1 hour a day. That's the truth of it. Working 10 minutes a day is fine, so just do 10 minutes. And the other side is, don't work too much. But I'm talking to myself right now. But there's always horror stories about indie developers working too much. I don't know if any of you know Blueprints, little indie gem called Blueprints, yeah? The developer worked on that game for 8 years, and he worked 80 hours a week for 8 years. And I don't think you should do that to yourself. I don't think anyone should do that to themselves, even for this amazing game called Blueprints, which everyone should play. Then I wrote freestyle here, but I don't have anything else to say. That's what the Q&A is for. Let's talk general management. A team, money, how? So, this is a real talk section also. Realistically, you will not make a lot of money from being an indie developer. I am making a lot of money. This is because I got extremely lucky, and also I made a game that was like Tumblr catnip. So, you could make Tumblr catnip, but it's also hard. But yeah, being an indie developer, just like being any kind of artist, really, this is not something that you should do for money. This is something that you should do if you love video games and you want to start making your own. And you want to make people cry, usually your friends, or you want to make them yell, or you want to make them feel something, and that's pain enough. But yeah, and to do a game, you need a couple things. You need some level of coding knowledge, some level of art knowledge, some level of music knowledge. Only freaks have those three. The rest of us have to get other people's help. So for example, I did 100% of the art. I would say 80% of the code because I hired other people to do the code for me when it got too hard, including Nathan. I got Nathan to help me for a couple of things. And then I did none of the music beyond, I want a song that feels sad. So yeah, you gotta find people who can do the things that you can't. So for instance, in time, we hired a composer that I found online. Actually, she found me online, so that was great. And you can find so many people who want to make a game online, or even in this room. Oh, Nathan, you went all the way over there. I was looking back. Yeah, I was like, Nathan's not there anymore. He left. But yeah, maybe even in this room, maybe you can find your next team to make your next small game in this room. That's why you have a workshop soon. But yeah, when it comes to money, you can get a publisher, which is hard, or you can get some grants, which is also hard. So just die, I guess. And I don't have a good answer. This is really hard. So before in Stars in Time, when I was making Sarah, so I had someone do the music, and then I was broke, so I was like, I'm looking for a composer, and they were like, I can be a composer for free. And I was like, you're hired. So that was all free. I didn't pay a single dime to anything or anyone for Stair. For the prologue, I paid the composer as much as I could. And I found some plugins online, and that was the money from my full-time job. And then I got a publisher, so I didn't have to think about money anymore. To go back to In Stars in Time, we're going to talk about LGBTQs. I'm so sorry. This whole talk, I'm going to say queer people because I'm old and I don't know how to say LGBTQ in conversation, so I'm just going to say queer. I hope you can forgive me. But yeah, so to go back to In Stars in Time, while the prologue was a little queer, In Stars in Time is a lot more queer. So let's talk about queerness and the kind of pros and cons of adding queerness and diversity in video games. There's no cons. So In Stars in Time is woke. So as you can see here, we have Sifrin, who's a non-binary he/they, Vera Ace. We have Mirabelle, who's Aero Ace. We have Isabeau, who's a trans man. We have Odile, which is old, and so why are you asking her what letter she is? And you have Bonnie, who's a non-binary little kid. The reason I added that to the characters is because I like it when things are woke, so I wanted to show that in my own game. But also I have been on the internet. I was more than a teenager when Gamergate was happening, and that wasn't great. And so I've seen what can happen to people whose games are woke, and even not that woke, where it's like, there's a woman in there, and I've seen what can happen to them. So while making the game, like generally, I wondered about adding queer characters and adding diversity to the game, because like, is it safe for me? Is it worth it? Is it going to be okay? Because some of those characters have the same letters of the alphabet mafia as me, but some don't. So like, could I really write those characters' experiences in like a genuine way? Am I allowed to write a character whose letters are not the same as me? What if people get mad at me because I didn't show the letter the way they wanted? So here's my take. Just do it. Like, it doesn't matter. I am always so sad where sometimes I would get one of my friends who would come to me, and sometimes that is someone who's a person of color, who's queer, and sometimes that would generally be like a cishet white dude coming to me and saying, hey, I have this story about lesbians, which I think would be really fun, but I'm kind of scared because I'm a cishet white dude, and I don't know how people would react to me writing a game about lesbians. And I'm like, please write the game about lesbians for me. I'm begging you. We need more Yuri. And you should do it. Just because, my God, we need more diverse games. Just do your best, and then if you're worried, then you can ask someone whose letters are actually in there to check it for you and be like, oh my God, please, I wrote this thing. I don't want anyone to kill me. Can you please look at it for me? And then they will let you know if you will get killed or not. You probably won't. But at the very least, your brain has the, well, I have a friend with this letter and they said it was nice excuse in your brain ready to go. Because the reality is no one's going to say anything. You might get some pushback, maybe, if your game is big enough, but personally, I only got a couple like homophobic and transphobic people coming to me and saying, well, this is a game with alphabet mafia in there, and that was it, and they weren't even mean about it. And on the other side, I got a lot of people telling me how much the game meant to them and how much it meant to see themselves be represented. Like I said, some people realized they were trans thanks to In Stars in Time. I even got some people saying, oh my God, there's a word for being like asexual. There's a word for that, for my experience. I'm like, oh my God, I taught you about being asexual. That's like, I'm gonna cry. So make the queer thing, make the diverse thing. But yeah, so anyway, after that I released In Stars in Time, and now I can work on indie games full time. And now, how can you get started? Well, there's a workshop in a minute. But yeah, otherwise, just do some game jams, go on itch.io, and just start the thing. And I'm also wondering, I'm going to ask you to do something now. Raise your hand if you can draw. Right now, if you can draw, raise it really high. Got it. Raise your hand if you can code, if you know what a true-false means, or whatever. Oh, well, that's a lot of you, that's great. And raise your hand if you can play music. We got a couple teams in there, gang. Like, we got a couple teams. All of you, like, you got some teams. All of you are interested in video games and making them. And also, so yeah, it's kind of the time to network, or as we call it in the business, make friends. So talk with each other and make a game together. I believe in you. Thank you. I believe we have 15 minutes at least for Q&A, so raise your hand if you have a question. Yes?
So you said your publisher found you because they saw your work online. Do you have any advice for like maybe the opposite if you don't have a platform?
Oh, yeah, so that's usually what publishers are for, is for you to go to them. This is kind of rare that they go to you. So all publishers will kind of have on their website like, hey, come pitch your thing to us. And so, yeah, this is what you would do. You would pitch your game, and you would make, pitching is like, listen, since they got me, I made the shittiest pitch of all time. And they were like, yeah, pretty good. So I don't know how to pitch something. But you just pretty much make a PowerPoint that's like, all right, here's the game, and very quickly here what the game is like, and more importantly, this is how much money you could get by making the game come true, and this is the budget that I need. And you kind of want to make sure that, what was it? I think there's like a good math thing for this, but it might be like your budget should be how much you think the revenue will be divided by 5 or something. There's probably some kind of math like this. You can find that stuff online. I am not the right person to ask about how to pitch something, but this is how you would do it. You would pitch your game to them and be like, thanks, please. But also, right now is not really the time to get a publisher, because video games are in a really bad spot right now. It's really bad right now. Good luck is all I can say. Anyone have an yes?
Now that you've revisited Danganronpa 2 recently, can you tell us a little bit more about how we got Sifran from Nagito Komaeda?
How we got Sifran from Nagito Komaeda from Danganronpa. I like a little guy who's a little mentally ill and who has white hair. That's pretty much it. And also, that's all. That's all. I don't have a good answer. He's just my little guy, you know? He's just my little blorbo. And anyway, as long as you make a guy with white hair, Tumblr girls are going to be on it like white on rice. That's pretty much it. Yes?
I wanted to ask a question, but first I have more of a statement. I really like your nails. They're very nice.
Thank you.
The second thing is, I feel like there's a lot of like anxiety in like just kind of the general creator space of making things that are too derivative, or that don't feel like just original enough in general. So how, but people connect so much to like these works and want to make things that make them feel like how like those works make them feel. So how do you, I guess, like safely take inspiration without making it too derivative?
How do you safely take inspiration without making it derivative? As long as it's not a fan game, it's fine, you know? I feel like, well, the real thing is, instead of being derivative of one thing, be derivative of 2 things, and then no one will know that you were derivative of even one thing. Because that's like, if you get inspiration from only one thing, that's kind of the guy who's only seen Boss Baby, oh my god, this is giving me Boss Baby vibes. So you want to say, guy who's only seen Boss Baby and played Danganronpa, I don't know what this is. You know, it could be anything. is what I would say. I wouldn't be too worried about it, just because this is the kind of situation where just asking yourself that question means it's not going to be derivative. Because people who make derivative stuff don't care about that at all. So you're good. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. We're making an RPG Maker game, like like yours,
Mhm.
and RPG battles have a lot of different numbers in them.
Yeah.
What's your kind of approach or like headspace for how to balance combat, just like just in terms of all these different numbers that can't be too high or too low, but you don't know what they need to be?
I don't know if you can see the distress on my face right now.
I figured as much.
Yeah, that was my least favorite part of RPG Maker, is the numbers. What I would say is make your numbers smaller. I made, for battles in Stars in Time, I tried to keep my numbers as simple as I could, and I tried to keep my math as simple as I could. So pretty much, it's been so long, I blocked it from my memory. But knowing me, I would probably have done something like, for damage is going to be the enemy's attack power minus your defense times maybe 1.5, so it's not a number that's a 2, and then that way it's like, it's a really simple math thing that doesn't make you want to step on a Lego and destroy the world, is what I would say. Just keep the numbers small, and also, I think that the battles in Stars in Time are probably the weakest part of In Stars in Time. So who cares? Who cares about battles? People are here for the story. You care about battles? I don't understand you. I don't understand you. Don't ask me then, because I really hate numbers and I really hate battles. So I'm sure you can make something better. Please do something better than I did when it comes to battles. I believe in you. You can do it. Any other questions? Maybe from yeah, all over there.
Speaking of story, how do you get to what kind of story you're going to write? How do you figure that out?
How do you get to a story? You get a really cool idea for a really fun moment, like what I had in the comics. So I'm like, oh my god, I can see there's this little guy and he's been looping in time for so long and he won the game, and then there's like this beautiful lady who tells him, no, you're going back to the beginning. This is a new game plus, baby. Everyone's gonna forget, but you're gonna remember all the suffering that you went through to fight this final boss, and you're gonna be stuck in there forever. And so you get this really cool idea, and you're like, well, I have to find the context for that now. That's pretty much how I figure out stories. Is that I'm like, oh my god, wouldn't it be so fun if there was this toxic relationship between two characters, but now I have to make this whole thing happen to make sure that the toxic relationship works. So just get a funny idea and then make the whole game around it. Yes.
A responsible person who asked about not being derivative, keep in mind that there exist approximately 50 billion Call of Duty clones.
Yep.
Also, an actual question.
Yes.
How do you take support or how far should you go in considering implications or effects or
Implications or, did you say?
it's considering the implications of story bits or mechanics. Like one of my favorite games has you can some things out of nowhere that just hasn't really shaped me as well. And then you took just the idea of a new game plus and made this whole Alfred horror game out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, how do you know when you should push farther with what will this mean?
How do you know when you should push farther? Yeah. So how do you know when you should push farther into a specific idea or concept that you have? Kind of always, as long as it's fun. Because there are, so for Stories in Time in particular, I really tried to think about like, okay, if I was Mario and I kept dying to Bowser, how would I feel? How would I feel about this world? How would I feel about Bowser? How would I feel about Princess Peach even, that I never get to see, and she's my goal, and I don't care about her anymore. And so it's a lot about pushing all of that. How would I feel about dying all the time? How would I feel about my own mortality if I was always dying and coming back? So I think actually this is kind of coming back to constraints, is that the whole point of a time loop is a constraint. This is a really big constraint that's pretty much becomes the whole game. And so what you want to do when you have this kind of wonderful constraint is, how far can I push this and how can I make the whole game around it? And I think that's what makes it more interesting and more real, is what I would say. Just keep going, just keep making the thing. Yes.
I have a question about the game.
Yes.
A little bit of story. So, this may come off as spoiler-free.
Close your ears if you don't care about spoilers. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just wondering whether or not the star character, I forgot their names from the year to play the game, but the star characters, are they actually this different from the prologue game or no?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. This is the single story question I will answer. You got it. You got the star where I got to answer you a story question. Any other questions? Yeah.
When you make games, or maybe just art in general, how do you balance internal motivation versus external motivation? Like wanting to see your vision through and make something versus getting your friends to play your game and seeing the enjoyment they have. How do you balance that?
So how do you balance internal and external motivation? So for example, wanting to see the game finished versus making sure it's actually good for people? Is that what you mean?
Versus like letting people play it and seeing them enjoy the game, and you're like, oh yeah, you like my game.
I think it's just because my goal is to see people react to it. So kind of like, feels like to me what your question is like the kind of difference between I want my game to be art and I want it to be known as this specific thing and to showcase those specific things, but at the same time, it has to be playable. Is that kind of?
Like maybe a better question is, what would you do if you didn't have a platform or like a bigger audience from which you can see them play your game?
This is a hard question because now I'm kind of famous, so it doesn't happen to me anymore. Well, it does happen to me now with the game that I'm making that you should wishlist. True Stepper, you should wishlist it. Please wishlist it. It's about lesbians. I'm getting back to my roots. It's about lesbians. So right now, no one can really play the game because it's being made and I don't want to show it to fans. And so kind of what keeps me going is, my God, I have 2 people that I'm making the game for them because I want to see their reaction. And so it's kind of about choosing, like knowing, I know exactly who this is really gonna hit with. And like I generally just have 2 people that I want to play the game. The rest is like a nice bonus. You guys are just a nice bonus, whatever. But yeah, just make the game for 2 people is kind of the thing. Because yeah, the more people is just a bonus. It's not about them. It's about your 2 friends who are gonna go crazy when you finally play the game. Yes.
Hi. From what I understand, a lot of like game development, at least for like Steam games, is marketing, getting an audience. Do you have any advice on how to market your game without it taking up like a significant amount of development time?
I have really bad news about marketing. The rule of marketing is that this should take 50% of your time.
Yeah. I was always told to start a YouTube channel, but having a successful YouTube channel alongside game development was just too much every time.
is, yeah, it's evil. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is that if you're making a game, well, that's also the thing. Do you, this is if you want your game to make money, because otherwise, it doesn't really matter if you market it. But if you want your game to make at least a little money, yes, you should market it. And yes, it's going to be awful. And yes, you should post 3 times a week. And this is why I have hired a social media person to do that shit for me, because my God, I just want to work on the fucking game. I don't have a good answer. It's awful. This is part of the game developer struggle, is that you have to market it. And especially when you're making it, you're like, I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what the game is. How do you want me to market it when literally it could be anything right now? It's still an embryo. I don't know what it is. So yeah, good luck. I don't have. It's hell. It's hell. Yes.
Can you talk a little more about your approach to like writing characters?
My approach to writing characters.
Feel like a person.
Making someone feel like a person. So what I usually do is that I start with an archetype. So let's take, which character should I take? Who's your favorite in Stars and Time character?
Isabeau.
I was literally thinking about Isabeau. Clown to clown. So for Isabeau, I kind of started with the archetype. I really wanted him to be a himbo. That was immediately the thing. I was like, oh my God, he's going to be a himbo. This is it. This is the kind of guy he is. And then we're going to subvert it a little, because he's actually really smart. And just that is going to make a pretty simple character. And then after that, it's about figuring out like a couple of hobbies. Is like, he loves fashion, so how does that influence his character that he loves fashion? That's obviously going to influence his character design. That is going to influence the way he kind of interacts with people and thinks about people and kind of wants to take care of them. I genuinely do not remember when I decided that he would be trans, but that also influences his character. It's like, okay, when did he make that decision? How does he see himself? Does that mean that now he is satisfied with himself? Does that mean that he, like that within the world of the game, is this accepted or not? If this is accepted, how does he feel about it? Like, it's kind of figuring out a couple of character traits, and then going, okay, but what does that mean? How does that show itself? And then, for example, for Maribel, it's like, okay, she's so cute, she's the chosen one. How does she feel about being the chosen one? Does she like it? Does she think it's awful? Is she, okay, she's anxious. Oh my God, that goes with the chosen one thing. That means that she's anxious about being the chosen one. Oh, she's arrow ace. Oh, well, maybe we can link that to the world about how they have this whole religion that's around change. Probably she feels a little bit of like, dissonance with that, and that means that since Isabeau is trans and has changed, the religion of change is really embodying this religion of change, she might feel maybe a little insecure about that compared to Isabeau. How does that change their relationship? Blah, 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 blah. About finding the iceberg and all of that. All right, I have the little tip of the iceberg. He's a himbo. Well, actually, whole other thing. So that's kind of how you do it, and how you make them feel real. And also give them a secret. That's always the thing, is that I really like it in stories when you have a character saying something, well, you have at the beginning Sifrin going, I want to eat that croissant. The croissants are awful. And you're like, that's such a funny woman. Oh, Sifrin, you're so stupid. You're not even French. That's why you don't want to eat croissants. And then 20 hours later, I hit you with, well, croissants killed his grandma. So, don't you feel stupid? But then you replay the whole game and you're like, oh my God, every time you're going to see a moment where Sifrin sees the croissant, you're going to be like, oh my God, his trauma, his grandma. And so that's kind of, yeah, what I love about stories is that foreshadowing, and then you replay it and you're like, oh my God, this whole time he was thinking about his grandma who was killed by croissants. So that's how you make a fun character, is to give them a secret, like hatred of croissants. Do we have time for more questions, or is it time for pizza? Yes.
I have a question, actually.
Oh, you have a question.
Yeah. We're gonna progress a little bit here, just because, we have the room until 9. I'm not gonna kick people out at that point, but we do have the pizza and the workshop, and I'm sure plenty of time. Don't worry, you have time to ask Adrienne some questions afterwards during the social session. Adrienne's not vanishing. But I have one more question for you. So the event is Prototype, the tagline being exploring the gender diverse future of game development. right? You talked a lot about your story, but I'm wondering if you could speak to how you see the future of game development as a gender diverse creator.
It's real bad out there, y'all. It's really bad. So I think because there are cis white men everywhere, and they're scaring me in video games. All of you who are here, you're nice. You're nice. Because you're here. I'm not talking about you, not all men. However, it's really bad out there, ladies and boys and all and everything. So please, you have to make your games because it's so scary out there. And also, on the plus side of things, it is less likely right now. If you release a game and you're queer, you're a person of color, all that, it's less likely for you to be doxxed compared to 10 years ago. So I think that's amazing news, and I think, I genuinely think it's less dangerous now for us to release any game or any kind of project than it was before. And genuinely, as speaking for myself, I've never felt in danger because of who or what I was. I've gotten, oh my god, I've gotten one Steam comment that was like, this was made by a Tumblr girl. It's like, yeah, you got me, god damn. Oh my god, this is the alphabet mafia, there's queer people in that, this should be forbidden. I'm like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, well, it's forcing me to be a non-binary person and to be in a relationship with a trans man. I'm like, yeah, that's so bad. Go play Skyrim. I promise you're gonna like it. So please make it. I think it's gonna be fine. And actually, personally, I want more diverse games. I want them so bad. I want games about queer people. I want games about gay dudes. I want games about lesbians. I want games about trans people. I want games about people of every color and every places. So please make your game. I have enough of seeing games that are like, this is my fantasy game that takes place in England. It's like, oh my god, you're so special. You're so special for your game streets game that takes place in England. This is my sci-fi game that takes place in Boston. I'm like, oh my god, America? I've never seen that in a video game before. So please, just make your own stories. That's it. That's all I have.
The
battery's dying. I talk too much.
No, it's okay. Look at that. All right, another round of applause. Much deserved. Yeah, thank you so much. That was amazing. And yeah, let's make our games, right? So after this, we're gonna have a social, and then following that is a workshop. As part of the workshop, you'll be working with people. It's a constraint-based design workshop, I promise. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It better be. I put a lot of work into it. So during the social, I highly encourage you to maybe think a little bit, dream a little bit. Don't dream too much because you don't know what the workshop is yet. Talk to people. Form groups, right? We're going to be trying to aim for groups of 3-ish, maybe 4 people. So find your friends, or maybe even better, find just other people. When we're raising our hands, who does what, right? Try to find people with different perspectives and ideas. We work so much better together, and that's how our stories are going to get told, right? There'll be pizza. You can focus on eating first, but make sure you're socializing. Make sure you're connecting with each other. Although, applause for pizza, maybe. Very exciting. So just a heads up, I did reach out to some people who had dietary concerns beforehand. They did make a small mistake. They put beef on the pepperoni pizza. However, the pepperoni was already beef because it's halal. So everything is halal, except I don't really know about the vegan and celiac friendly. I didn't see, I think it is halal as well, actually. I didn't enter provide that. If you have any concerns, just talk to me. But there is vegan and celiac friendly pizza there. There is just a veggie pizza, there's some cheese pizza, and there's